And welcome back to the LEC for Game 2 of Week 6.
Yeah.
I'm Medic. This is Ender. We are here for Misfits versus XL, a battle nearer the bottom of the table than either of these teams would like.
Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one because, of course, Misfits, I feel like they've had so many very close games, lost at the final hurdle, whereas XL jumped into the league, had a huge start to the season, everyone's getting excited by them, and now it's been 3 games since they've found a win. This is a game both teams desperately need a win to stay in the playoffs picture. Let's get into draft.
Let's get into draft. The second draft on 11.4. We'll see if anything changed between these two teams. Unsurprising, XL on the blue side have said, Vetheo, you love Zoe.
Man.
She's your favorite champion. You want Zoe to win. And we're not going to have that happen here. So Zoe banned away, Azir removed from Czekolad as well.
I just love it. Vetheo's been farming Zoe bans in the first rotation ever since week 1, and that insane performance on that pick. XL, wide awake, you know? They're not going to sleep today. Got the Zoe and the Lilia off the board. I like it. Yeah, you like it. Pumping those Red Bulls. All right. Thresh band as well over for the side of XL, one of Vander's strong supports down there too. So nothing too surprising, immediately catching my eyes. As far as the jungle picks go, we saw Lilia Hecarim in the first game. Of course, Udyr I think is going to get banned in every single game today. No one wants to deal with that garbage. But for me, I want to see Nidalee, Graves, are these picks still tenable on 11.4?
I'm also wondering if we'll start to see things like the Sejuani or a Zac, those more heavy utility tank junglers.
Give it some time. Give it some time. We got to get through the Skarners and the Jarvans first. We'll ease our poor junglers into it. Okay. You know, we don't want to shock Jankos too quickly.
That's true. I mean, he has to practice his R's for a little while before he can play the Sejuani again. There is a Senna first pick, priority pick. Have yet to see it from XL at all this season, and they will bring it out in this game.
Honestly, from all the Senna I have seen, it has looked insane going that support route, especially just scaling up in the late game. And in tried and true XL fashion, we don't need them to rock the boat, you know? I think me, Drakus Cato talked about it a lot on Euphoria. XL's formula is great at farming regular season wins, and we're at the point where you need wins to continue to stay in the playoffs picture. So don't try to play the early game all-out aggression we saw a little bit from them last week. I think sticking to the scaling route is definitely the option.
And we see Misfits Gaming deciding that Ezreal is their scaling AD carry. We've seen a little bit more Ezreal rise to prominence over the last few weeks with nerfs to the other AD carries, the Kryzes, the Samiras getting taken out of contention as well.
Exactly, and specifically as an answer into the Senna, who of course gets that massive range later on into the game. Ezreal playing back in fights, playing off of Q, can go toe-to-toe with her in a sense by dodging out away from a lot of those abilities, whereas, you know, maybe a Kalista couldn't. Kalista has to get in your face, that sort of stuff. And again, some early priority on the Victor. Of course, mid lane has already been shown on the other side here, but I like what XL are showing us already with a strong incentive to play backwards in fights, allow Misfits to come into them, and then this insane long-range zoning tools from a Victor as well to keep your opponents at arm's length.
I mean, we're at 100% new comp so far for XL. No one has played, neither of these champions have been played, nor has the Tahm Kench 100% through 3 picks.
Wow.
We have yet to play any of these champions. We assume it will be the farming Tahm Kench.
The farm Kench, yes.
And not, as we don't like calling it here, the fasting Senna.
It just doesn't exist. It is support Senna. Yeah, I think we decided past 3 items we can call her an AD carry again, and we change our minds with that, but we'll see what Misfits go with. I'll likely end up just showing their support here. Do we see a Blitzcrank? That's the madness that I love seeing personally. And the Graves, actually, we were talking about a little bit earlier on. Now, Graves, I am skeptical of here, I'll be honest. Right now, both the Senna and the Victor have a lot of great tools to hit you from very far away without allowing Graves to get into range and end up doing some damage yourself there. We're also lacking a little bit in the engage, hard engage department for Misfits, of course. They still have top lane and support, so they can make up for that fact. But I'll be honest, I don't love the Graves showing into a Senna and a Victor in the first 3 picks.
And I wonder what they're going to pick top lane for that. If they want their top laners to be hard hard engage, HiRit isn't really an Ornn player. Like, we haven't seen that much Ornn at all throughout this season, but he's much more, you know, Camille, Renekton, Gragas, something that's going to go in and be, or Jace, sorry, and something's going to have a little bit more damage himself. Could go for something like the Scion again, if he wanted to.
Or the Malphite.
Or the Malphite.
Get the Rock in the top lane.
Yeah, I do wonder about a Malphite into things like a Senatarm Kensho. It's a little bit tricky for you to get the extra damage down. Skarner removed from Dan, Jace taken away from HiRit. I wonder if we'll see a support ban, something like the Leona removed by XL. Could be pretty strong in this matchup.
Yeah, basically what XL are trying to do is, while they could ban away a lot of these harder engaged champions, they say, well, if Misfits just dominate us in the lane phase and we don't have an opportunity to recover from that, that's going to be an issue. So I understand where they're going with this Jace ban, although personally I feel like Misfits should be looking a different direction in their composition here. And Misfits, of course, removing some of the hard engage options themselves in the Skarner and the Hecarim. We'd expect to see Dan, Kryze play more of these frontlining champions for the rest of the squad. Maybe Kryze goes back to a Gragas he's piloted in the past, in this same idea of playing backwards in the team fight. So Gragas would suit in very nicely.
I wouldn't mind a Cho'Gath there as well, in all honesty.
Sure.
It gives you a relatively good disengage. You have the range advantage, you have zone control from the Victor and the Senna, so that could work pretty well. With the Braum being banned away, Misfits Gaming now looking for a support, probably on this pick. Seraphine. Okay, I will admit we shouldn't have forgotten about Seraphine. She gives you incredibly long engage, especially considering Ezreal can E into the fight if he so desires. If you team this up with a tank, it works out very well for that bot lane, and that means Misfits scaling is totally sorted.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of these like ranged threats and a lot of like shielding and whatnot to keep themselves alive. I'm still a little bit concerned in terms of like, where's our front line here for Misfits, and with that 2v2 on the bot side, can do a lot of damage, but now a Mundo slots in for XL here. This will be our jungle Mundo for Dan. Very fast clear through his camps. Doesn't have a lot in terms of raw CC, but I think from what XL are showing, they have a lot of these slows, and they have a lot of abilities to, you know, keep you slowed down. I'd expect to see some swiftness boots, perhaps, in a game like this.
Yeah, for Misfits Gaming, definitely. There is the Renekton in the top lane for Kryze. As you say, like, XL don't have hard engage, but it's much more about catching you, and then when you start running away, there's no escape. You've got cleavers, you've got the slow from Piercing Darkness from the Glacial Augment on the Senna, you've got Tahm Kench, Tongue Lick. There is the Gragas in the top lane for HiRit, so that's a little bit of engage, a little bit of a tank if he runs that tank.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because Misfits comp basically took what we were saying about XL early on and saying that now we actually, with a range support, a lot of shielding, some disengage tools, like Misfits want to take the fights a little bit more slowly and play off of their range. The difference is that XL, in their two primary carries, I feel like do have that range advantage. So it becomes very interesting in these fights and how they play out. Of course, Vander's ultimate on the Seraphine is going to have a really large impact, especially if paired up with Vetheo or HiRit on their respective champions. So I do feel like both sides have some pretty solid options as we move into this game, with that Senna being the late game trump card. I can definitely give XL the upper hand.
XL still fighting in 6th place in the league. They've seen SK Gaming start to rise up. Misfits sitting outside of playoffs right now. Only 3 and 8. Historically, you have needed 9 wins to get into playoffs. 8 wins can sometimes get you in, 7 very rarely, but 9 is that key benchmark we usually look for. Will Misfits be able to get back into winning ways, or will XL take the win versus them in our second game of the day? And on to Summoner's Rift, we jump. Both teams relatively heavy scaling. Gonna be honest here, guys. We might be in for a little bit of a long one. There's the option of some early ganks. I know Renekton can do a lot early game, but Renekton is Gragas tends to be a farm matchup. Mundo tends to farm, Victor tends to farm, Senna tends to farm.
Everyone farms, medic.
Yeah, but like, if you can choose between farm and fight, Pantheon is a fight champion.
Yeah, no, I was on your line. Okay. I thought I'm saying everyone in this game is farming.
Medic, you're like saying everyone breathes, you know, like.
I mean, they do.
That's true. Medically.
Medically, as the expert.
Yes.
I like it. The early ward, of course, to get that faster level 2. You love to see it. XL already with an early game advantage.
Dun, dun, dun. I mean, so the only thing with that is it can get Czekolad level 2 lead in the mid lane, which means he can harass the Vetheo just that little bit more. Ward comes out from Misfits on their own blue buff as Razork is going to start top. I guess Dan could look for it, but my expectation is that Kobbe and Vander should be able to get lane priority in this bottom lane.
It is interesting when you look at it, because I feel like in a lot of times when we've seen Senna, Tahm Kench go up against, you know, any sort of like poke lane or lanes that want to trade into you, they just don't take damage. A combination of like the thick skin as well as Patrik just healing up. Guardian, of course, makes it really hard, and there's a teleport on Tahm Kench too. So I do, like you're saying, expect to see Misfits with lane priority, but I don't think they'll just be like smashing through XL on the bot side. Now, I have to talk about Dan's early decision making, because he started Q on the Mundo and he's taking a ton of damage. Personally, I think that a W start and going for Raptor camp at level 1, if you're going leashless, is really good. You can get through that camp very easily, and then it also means your Raptor's going to be cycling through a little bit quicker. The old tech in Mundo of last year was to actually go with the Talisman W start on Raptors yourself, but now you'll notice with a Q into an E, he actually won't have his W, so he has to skip or he's actually doing Raptors.
He has
smite, right. But still, it is bit interesting to see him go for this decision making.
Well, right now he is ever so marginally ahead of Razork in the jungle. Is going to be going, well, actually they're about even. Let's be honest. They're both killing those tiny chickens at the same time. And so we'll see how he begins to develop the rest of his jungle pathing. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Vander is a very happy bunny in this lane. Because you know what being Seraphine into Tahm Kench means? Stacks.
Stacks.
Your Spellthief's edge stonks are rising every moment. We'll see Vander probably back around the 8-minute mark or so and get that ward upgrade, assuming he can consistently get these stacks onto the Tahm Kench.
All right. My new favorite thing whenever there's a Senna in the game is do the Senna soul check-in.
Okay.
What do you think, like how many minutes need to pass for each one? Like 5 minutes? Is that too frequent?
Wait,
8
for each
minutes?
soul or for
No, for
20?
each time we check in to see how many souls she has.
I think we do our first check at 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
It's a little later than I'd like, but I think the 20 stacks doesn't really matter that much.
Of course, you can also see it in the bottom left corner of your screen if you guys just open your eyes, but we'll for all the audio-only listeners.
I'm covering it, guys. I'm covering it on the screen. Put your hand over it. You won't get to see.
I don't think it works like that. I could use the telestrator to draw over it, put a little
true.
yellow
just
line.
Put a little face down there for the entirety of the game.
That's mean.
I mean, while we see a relatively slow start from both these two teams, Razork's going to try and steal away this Krug camp if he can, puts a ward across to it. I do want to talk a little bit about XL and how their season has been going so far, Ender, because what we tend to find from XL is they're a very good team at beating teams that are beneath them in the standings, but not so great at beating teams that are ahead of them. Actually, it looks like Czekolad might be ganked here. It's going to flash away. Razork, the end of the line coming out, and we can go back to my point.
Yeah.
XL, great at beating teams below them, not so good at beating teams who are above them.
And it's because they're a very consistent team with a very straightforward plan, right? You know, they build relatively easy to execute compositions that don't need to rely on any sort of a laning phase advantage and building that into a lead. No, it's about team fighting, it's about scaling, it's about playing around objectives. And usually, especially early on in seasons, we will see our weaker teams really struggle to beat a consistent team, you know, teams that are very stable in the standings. We've seen this in the past with teams like Rogue, Origin, etc. And it's been going well for XL. The concern is, well, with a loss to Astralis last week, and as our teams continue to get better throughout the regular season, can this be maintained? Can XL stay in the playoffs picture? Because right now, tied neck and neck with Schalke for that 6th, 7th slot, on the verge of being knocked out and denied playoffs yet again.
Yeah, importantly for them, they've got a couple of games this week that they'll really be looking at winning. Tomorrow they face SK, today they face up against Misfits, but then their final week is very tough. They get G2 and Rogue in the same week, which is a difficulty. HiRit trading here with Kryze in the top lane, but Kryze has that colder week. He's going to heal himself back up, and HiRit doesn't have the ability to go back in.
Yeah, no, the healing on Renekton was nerfed just a little bit in this patch. You can see Kryze will have to get out of lane, go back to base. Gragas with, you know, the extra potions from his biscuits, his passive sustain as well, can try to match the Renekton. I think that's a lot of the idea of this matchup in general, and it's these types of small changes to a Renekton that can make matchups just that little bit more difficult here.
It's a nice little stun from Kryze as he came out. I think he may have, as you know, he just came out and immediately Ruthless Predator stunned him. And here's the Dominus now available for Kryze as well. Torre's going to try and trade onto Kobbe in the bottom lane. Guardian Seraphine is what we tend to see as Torre uses the thick skin to heal himself up. Also, Patrik popping the Summoner heal there to make sure that Torre wasn't killed.
Wow.
Wow.
surprised, to say the very least here. It's a war on HP from XL and a war on mana for Misfits. How long can they stay in the lane without going completely here? You'll notice, though, Vetheo and Razork are both moving bot side. I'm really surprised to see HiRit TPing top lane. Kryze, of course, doesn't have a TP to respond, but Misfits, they want to dive bot lane.
Okay, Torre has the Devour. Flash is available for both of the XL bot laners. Vetheo, oh, they missed with the last embrace, and now here comes the TP. Torre trying to keep himself alive in the Curse of the Dead and missed. Razork tanks up a tower shot. Czekolad has joined the fray while Dan pushes out mid lane.
And a huge winner, Dan. Like you said, he's got that whole wave in mid. He's going to deny those minions. And again, because Misfits didn't have the teleport for their top laner, they immediately wanted to back away from that play in the bottom side. Still a lot of, priority gain through river and whatnot for the Misfits, but now some good top side vision with that deep control ward as well.
And you joke a little bit about how Dan was the big winner out of that, but it's actually something I've seen rising on Twitter feeds and in discussions, which is if a jungler can find a lane to grab a wave or two of XP early game, they can ride that XP lead for the rest of the game, because jungle XP has been nerfed, right? So stealing camps doesn't give you as much as it used to, but solo XP was buffed in Season 7, I want to say?
Yeah.
Or maybe, Season 7, it's still really strong. So if you can get a couple of solo waves, the jungler.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's funny, though, to me, always, because, junglers know this has been a thing for years now. And I just, the Reddit post, a couple days ago, right? Pops up, and it's like, oh, that's great. Other people realize this, too. But just goes to show people don't understand the jungle.
I mean, true. But also, I saw Leader saying, I deliberately don't kill my lane opponent in mid lane anymore, because if I do, their jungler comes in and gets two waves of XP.
No, but it's a legit thing. It's how junglers think. It's like, if I gank mid lane, we get the kill. But the enemy team, the enemy jungler gets a whole lot. So, I definitely can sympathize for that. We'll notice Vetheo in the mid lane has gone for that Verdant Barrier first. Typically, you will see this done against, double magic damage mid and jungle. And that's exactly what you get with this Mundo. He does do some AD damage, via his E to his jungle camps, but typically in any form of a team fight, all his other sources of damage are going to be magic, and also with, a turbo chem tank likely will be that direction as well.
Dan, a level up over Razork right now. He's going to start up the Rift Herald, is spotted on a ward, decides not to clear it. It's just going to drag the Herald out here.
Yeah.
And
Mundo clears wards when he pleases.
Very true. Very true, Ender. Stun happens in the top lane as Kryze is just going to force HiRit away. And we see, as we expected, a relatively slow game, but it looks like Misfits might have something else to say. They brought their bot lane up towards this Herald. Dan's going to secure it. Razork, with the end of the line, is going to do some damage as well, but should be able to walk away from this one. Dan pops the ult, walks his way out, and Misfits invested a lot to gain very little.
I really don't like this play from Misfits. Veteo's trying to steal away a blue buff, but the reason why I hate this so much is that Misfits are working at a TP disadvantage. Like, Torre has TP, has an ultimate to get towards the top side, so even Kobbe ended up losing minions in the bot side. He doesn't have a support either, so it's very hard for him to farm underneath the tower. You can see using his ultimate to pick up as many CS as he possibly can, and now the support from Misfits will be moving down towards the river, and XL will have to back away. But I feel like that was a map movement where if you just look at the time it's going to take before that Herald goes down, you're never going to get there in time and only risk losing more for your team. It would have been more worthwhile perhaps for Razork to have traveled to the bottom lane and maybe done the inverse there, tried to deny some CS from Patrik and Torre.
Maybe hoping that Seraphine could speed them up enough for them to come around. Torre going in here as Kobbe's going to trade with Patrik down towards the bottom side. Razork gets the dragon down on his way. There's the charm coming out from Vander.
1v1 AD carries.
Almost down. Patrik, he fails to flash across the wall, and Razork will take the kill. Dan now forced away. Vander flashing in. Gobble up here from Torre as Dan gets knocked back, but this is so bad for XL. Misfits just picking up kills left, right, and center. Czekolad falls as well. Misfits 4-0 in the bottom lane fight.
XL fans, cover your eyes. Nobody wants to see that. That was a complete disaster on every single front. 1v1s lost across the boards. Flashes failed over the wall.
What is Torre doing?
I mean, there's ultimates gone, right? Like, even Dan doesn't have his ultimate, and Patrik, he's trying to do this 1v1 thing against Kobbe, but his support isn't trying to run down here and help him out. The flash is not good at all. And then, I mean, in the meantime, on the top side of the fight, Vetheo is winning this one too.
I just don't understand it. Like, Vetheo beats Czekolad, Torre does nothing through the entire fight, gets one devour off, Dan is immediately killed. Shockwave's used off towards the top side, Vetheo gets a kill. Like, you took the Rift Herald XL, just don't fight the dragon. What on earth are you doing? Like, why is Torre walking into the pit?
Yeah, I mean, so like, Czekolad didn't have his ultimate, neither did Dan. And they're still walking into that. So that's a pretty large blunder for XL. And again, considering that this is usually a team that doesn't want to do a whole lot in the early game. Like, you don't need to force things. You can play for this Senna to become a beast a little bit later on into the game, and we'll see what they can do to bounce back from this, because now it's about 1,700 gold going the way of Misfits. Misfits have a very oppressive composition, especially like a range support in the bot lane, where if Misfits get an advantage, well, it's very easy to start roaming around, hitting towers, and just drowning out your opponent's, room on the map.
2,000 gold lead, well, 1,400. You drown out their room, They had a room, it's been drowned out.
I was trying to say suffocate. That was what I was looking for.
I got drown out the room.
Drown out the room.
That's where we went there, Vander. That's fine.
It's a phrase.
There is the room that Misfits are looking.
Thank you. Oh, production saving me, guys. Thank you. See the water level rising.
They'll try and drown out this room while Misfits try and drown. It's like an episode of Crystal Maze. Like you have to get the Nexus before the waters rise, and you've drowned out the room. Anyway,
I like it.
2,000 gold lead for Misfits, only 12 minutes in. Manamune stacking up here on Kobbe. Interesting to see we don't see him going for the Essence Reaver Dustblade build. Instead, deciding the Manamune is the item of choice.
Yeah, he could transition into that. That's kind of what I would expect here. It often has to do with like what your amount of money you're recalling on the Ezreal. Like, do you have enough to get a Sheen perhaps, move that into an Essence Reaver, or just go the Manamune direction? Again, though, I do think it's worth noting how Misfits are playing the map, because Vetheo has consistent pressure over mid and constantly walking down with Razork, and we only saw that one real dive attempt, but I do appreciate the pressure I am seeing Razork work with off of his mid lane.
He's already got the Immortal Shield complete, smites away the red, and Dan only plated steel caps on this Mundo. Torre's going to come in with the Abyssal Voyage. Vetheo here with the shield. The last embrace will catch onto Razork, but he's going to be able to just walk his way away. Gets the ultimates out and just struts his way out.
Razork, this is so smart.
Czekolad. Czekolad.
It's Vetheo was on the ward. Yeah. So Razork was trying to pretend like he'd use the Blast Stone to get over the wall and then use that angle.
He's still going. He's got no collateral damage, but does get the flash out of Czekolad.
These are the decisions that are a little bit perplexing there, even with the ward taking the risky route back into the tower now without a flash. With a level 11 Orianna? Whoa. Okay, it's all good. It's all good, guys.
All good. But that level 11 comes from the bot lane kill into the wave being pushed up. Vetheo just getting all that extra experience.
Yeah, and it means that losing that flash is so dangerous. If that ultimate connects, it is bad business. Almost 1k gold advantage for Vetheo. And again, Razork playing around this bottom lane just for some chip damage, but this should deny the whole minion wave.
Yeah, Patrik and Toya just have to walk their way away. Remember, Vetheo has teleport. He's sitting in base. TP goes towards the mid lane, and Razork caught out with the last embrace. Here come the XL TPs. They're looking for a fight in the bottom lane. The charm comes out, lands onto 2. Czekolad doesn't have flash. Burned it earlier and just walks back into the True Shot barrage, works his way back towards mid.
Torre freaking out from a mile away on that ultimate, still pops the thick skin. And interesting to see both top laners hold on to their TP. Vetheo using is to get back into mid. Czekolad tries to respond, but that was like the measured aggression that I really appreciate to see out of Misfits, because they know they're getting an advantage in mid lane by not all-ending forcing this dive in the bot side. The second time now, they've been okay with baiting out TPs and then walking away from the situation, and they still get so much there with the tower falling.
And that's what they have to do. We always talked about Misfits, especially at the start of the season. They were this team that really loved these skirmishes. When they got ahead, they were able to take control of the game. They were able to force fights on their own terms, and then they kind of lost it. They kind of lost that impetus, and once again, we see a fight in the top lane where Kryze tries to dodge past the explosive
That was a really nice cask.
That was quite get it, yeah.
That was good. Little max range right there. Maybe he placed on top of himself, but knocked him far enough away. Czekolad, no flash this time around.
Shockwave available for Vetheo as well. They're just going to walk it up, and goodbye, Czekolad.
Ouch. That'll be the mid lane turret on top of that. The Herald immediately has to be canceled out from Dan. Misfits is exactly what we need to see from them. And I love that it's coming from unexpected places, right? It's Vetheo and Razork working together for the kills on mid. The flash is burnt. The pressure down towards bot lane is that mid jungle duo that is stepping up now for Misfits. And a duo that I feel like has been a little bit underwhelming so far this split. We've looked towards top lane, and here it's had some really sick games. Bot lane too for Kobbe and Vander. That duo has stepped up at times. But now to see Vetheo and Razork working together, it's not just like the mechanical execution, it is that duo camaraderie coming up huge here for Misfits.
I mean, it's been a slow burn for Vetheo, right? Like, he had that great day one Zoe performance, then it started getting banned out, had a few good Syndras, but he's never really shown the promise, perhaps, that some people expected of him. And I wonder if that's just because we hold mid laners in Europe to a very high standard. We hold them to Cap's solo killing perk standard on his first game, like, against G2. It's not an easy level to get to. And I think Vetheo has developed and has grown throughout this season. And my expectation is he will continue to as a mid laner as Torre looks for a fight in the top lane. Kobbe has the arcane shift, will just dash away. Kryze trying to get in with the stride breaker now. Misfits have TP'd in, and Razork and Vetheo on the flank. Razork's trying to trade here with Czekolad, forces him away, flashes forward. Razork has the collateral damage, and Czekolad does not have a flash of his own. One more auto is enough, doesn't need it. Collateral damage comes out in the rest of XL, working their way down to try and catch out the Misfits mid laner.
Razork feeling himself right there, just goes flying forward, and again, Misfits are going to push XL away from the tower. It was crazy because we had the TP coming to the top side, but the observers knew what was going down, and Razork had the damage with the shield bow already finished off to step up once again here. XL trying to hunt down Misfits, but Misfits aren't gonna bite. They still step forward.
I mean, the big thing here is XL lose the war of attrition. Like, Misfits win. You said Misfits kind of rounded out their composition, had this slow, methodical chip away at you team comp. Well, XL are trying to do the same thing, but they don't have the damage that Misfits have right now. They don't have an Ezreal with a Phage Ashin and a Mana Moon stacked up. They don't have a Moonstone Manure on their support. They don't have a Liandry's or Immortal Shieldbow. Like, look at it. They've got 2 mythic items to the 4 mythic items on the side of Misfits. Misfits are just so much stronger, and they are 4,000 gold ahead at the 17-minute mark.
And I love the build out of the Graves too, the Immortal Shieldbow I'm a big fan of here. Makes him so hard to cut down, especially with all the extra shielding. And look at him, he's just frontlining as well. Out of control here.
Vander chipped away at just a little bit as Misfits may be forced back. HiRit looking for a flank, the ward comes over the wall. There's the last embrace as well, but XL still only 3 members strong in this top lane. On the rest of the Rift, we saw Czekolad trying to get some waves in the mid lane. We saw Kryze trying to get some farm in the bottom lane, just seeing if they can catch up, get some of these small advantages across the rest of the map, because Misfits did spend a long time in the top lane themselves. I will note, Kobbe not going anywhere near the Duskblade Essence Reaver build. Instead, he has gone Mana Moon Divine Sunderer here on the Ezreal.
And that was the initial build that I feel like caught on some popularity here for Ezreal. Still going to be very effective for the team. On the other side of things, though, XL do not have their damage dealers in a position where they need to be. You can see, we'll do a check-in now. 74 stacks on the Senna. That's a fine pace, I feel like, for Patrik. But Czekolad falling very far behind in the mid lane, not just with the 3 deaths, but the CS as well, has not been favoring him. And if he is not packing a punch, if Patrik also is not able to, dish out insane damage, well, then all of a sudden this Graves can actually walk forward. And that's a huge difference within these comps. Is coming into the game, we were expecting to see, on even footing, Graves maybe struggle to find a way into the fights. Maybe instead he's just spending his entire time hitting onto the beefy front line of Dan and Kryze, but we saw in that last fight how he was able to single out Czekolad, immediately chunk him down and kill him off. That very well could continue until Czekolad and Patrik farm up.
And I will say, as Misfits get towards the 20-minute mark with a lead, it's a long road to playoffs for Misfits here, Ender. 3-8 currently, looking to get themselves up towards about that 9-win mark. And even if they can do that, they still have a mountain to climb, because not only are they behind in wins, they are also behind in head-to-head against the teams around them. They've lost a game to Schalke. They only have won against Astralis, who are sitting near the bottom of the table. They're 0-2 versus SK. They're 0-1 versus XL. So a win here makes those head-to-head battles, those tiebreaker scenarios, so much better for Misfits when we get to the end of the season.
On the other hand, it's a very quick path out of playoffs for XL, a team that's never made playoffs in the history of the LEC. This has been their best shot to do it, and a loss against Misfits would be fairly damning. This is a team you have to beat here if you're XL.
And a worry that I have for XL here is, last week, we could kind of forgive them a little bit because they played early game compositions and were looking for fights and were looking for action, right? They went away from their norm, which was they were winning on these scaling comps. This is a scaling comp, Ender. Like, if I've ever seen one, Senna, Mundo, Victor, like, you want to get to late game. And it hasn't worked out for them so far in this game. And now we have seen them fight back from larger goal deficits than this in the past, so I don't want to count them out. But at the moment, they are getting caught all over the map, and that's exactly where Kryze is. Going to use the slice and dice to get himself away. Does get the ultimate out of HiRit for it.
And Misfits comp is oppressive. These towers are going down without the assist of a Baron or anything like that. Mid-inner falls, bot-inner very likely could fall in the near future. I think Misfits are going to look to turn their attention over towards the Ocean Drake, though, because once they pick that up, well, Soul is going to be on the horizon. Czekolad TPing into top lane, I think, just to try and soak up as many minions as he possibly can. It's hard to blame him. Again, he's been struggling so much throughout this game. You'll take anything you can get when you know the majority of the enemy team is on the bot side of the map.
can see he is 2,500 gold behind Vetheo right now. AD carry is always difficult to judge, but I'd say there's about a 2,000 gold lead for Kobbe.
Patrik has less gold than the enemy support, right?
Yeah.
Which definitely speaks volumes there.
So yeah, if you do the maths between Torre and Kobbe, you can see it's about 2k or so. Patrik's still only sitting on the Kraken Slayers. Czekolad will take the tower in the top lane. But as you said, Ocean Drake, 4 minutes away. True Shot Barrage here, just making sure that the Baron wasn't started by XL.
Just a warning shot for the Baron. Yep. Misfits saying, look, we're coming for you soon. We're 4 minutes, we're going to take the Ocean Soul, then maybe we team fight XL, and then you're next.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I love fights. I love, like, League of Legends fights are great. And I do, you know what, I'm going to...
I should hope you enjoy League of Legends fights. It's kind of what you watch for a living.
I mean, I played rugby for a while. There were general fights in that as well.
Oh, no.
Those could be quite enjoyable. I will note... I want to talk a little bit about Vander's itemization choices here, because I really like them. Moonstone Manure was nerfed slightly on 11.4, but still very strong on any support that can, put out all of these buffs. He's going Chem Tech Putrefier.
That's
second
the one.
item, right? So he's going to give Grievous Wounds to everyone on his team, which means his team doesn't need to build Grievous Wounds because he's Seraphine, so he has an AoE that applies it to everyone.
And everyone on XL has got healing, and like you said, the AoE in so many of his abilities, his Q, his E, his R,
his W.
Yeah, he's got 4 of them, four of those abilities. But no, I mean, I'm totally on board with you. I think Seraphine, one of the best champions in terms of applying Grievous Wounds to the rest of the squad. So again, slow things down, go cook up some popcorn or something. I don't know, because we're still probably about 3 minutes away.
If you're going to do that, leave the stream on, okay? Don't just leave. And also, popcorn with some butter, a little bit of salt, or masala popcorn. We'll come back to League of Legends. Masala popcorn is delicious.
Okay.
Have you ever had chili on mango?
No.
You got to try it.
That's wild.
It's a classic, like, South Indian thing. It might be all Indian thing, but it's very tasty. I love it. Anyway, back to League of Legends. Patrik has just hit level 11, still only sitting on 1 item as Torre uses the Abyssal Voyage hit to try and catch out HiRit. What does HiRit have? Just the flash. Explosive cast knocks Dan back into him because Dan flashes forward as well, and HiRit should just be gone. As we see the rest of XL coming in for the fight. Razork, though, chasing out Czekolad. Dawning Shadow comes out. Czekolad will be shielded up. Collateral damage dodged to the side. Meanwhile, Vetheo in the top lane is chipping away at a tower all on his lonesome.
Who's going to take the red? Okay, Razork takes it with the assist there from Kobbe. So these are the types of moves XL need to make, especially when there's no real major objective to play for. I don't think Misfits were in a position where they could have immediately started up the Baron or anything like that. So I like the move from XL. Use your globals, get into position for a fight. And now they just need to see if they can replicate that maybe right before the Ocean Drake spawns in that 60 seconds preceding it. Take a kill to gain some advantage over the river, because that is the real struggle for XL, I do feel like, is against all these ranged threats, the poke that can come flying your way. Granted, they've got a beefy front line to try and soak up that poke, but Misfits can take their time before starting off a team fight.
They really can. They can just slowly whittle you away. Vander will heal them all up, of course, with the Moonstone Manure and
100 stacks on the Senna.
100 stacks?
I'd say that.
100 stacks pretty good, especially since he's almost at his Ginsus. He's got the Rage Knife in his inventory, so he will be getting all that extra on-hit damage. The question is whether or not he can survive long enough in a fight to actually use that DPS. And we'll see that question answered probably in a minute.
Yeah, he has a Tom Kench next to him.
Yes.
He's got some tools, but I feel like Misfits have so many of these ranged threats. Like Seraphine in particular, like her ultimate, being able to CC multiple targets if Tori's not quick on the fingers there to snap someone up with the Devour. Well, Seraphine or Senna may just die in the burst of a couple of abilities there. Sal,
you waiting for this?
A little bit careful.
There comes the Infected Cleaver. I think Misfits needed to be a little bit careful. Yeah. It was a 4-1-2.
XL have the numbers advantage, but Misfits are like a puffer fish, right? They pop out of the bush like, oh god, how many people are behind there?
That's true, that's true.
Yeah.
TP used here by Misfits to the mid lane as well. I don't think I've ever heard of a League of Legends team being compared to a deep-sea aquatic animal.
It's in the vein of, what was it, Drown Out the Room or something? Yes. It's in their style for today. It's an ocean map.
Yes, okay, yeah, that's what we're going to do from now on. Whenever it's an ocean map, you have to talk only in terms of shellfish. Now, Misfits trying to climb out this bottom side river. I can't do it. YMCA will get us, mate. Dawning, a piercing darkness from Patrik. They're trying to chip away at HiRit, but look at how healthy that Gragas still is. Kryze coming in from the side looking for Kobbe. He's going to use the Arcane Shift away. Razork there as well. Dawning Shadow coming out as Kobbe's down to half HP. HiRit uses the explosive cast just to disengage the fight for the moment. And Misfits once again can gain control of the river. They've muscled their way in, and the question is, will there be a barnacle that can really latch on to this Misfits lineup? They're climbing up right now as the Ocean Drake goes down. Secured the soul for Misfits, and they're looking for more kills. Snapping turtles in the river as they look for the fight. That was awful.
Stop it! Back to normal, back to normal.
Look at this, Razork's on a rampage. Kryze gonna get forced off towards the top side as well. Misfits win the fight. They snap, they bite, and they find 3 kills.
Swim towards the Baron. All right,
yeah.
we got it out of our system. Misfits, I mean, what are you going to do there? It's a Mundo without a flash getting into the pit to try and steal away the soul. Next to impossible. So I like Misfits' decision to blitz it down, not even offer XL the 50-50 there realistically, and they're going to take everything off the map. This is looking good for Misfits, and putting them on a path here to take down XL.
Yeah, looking for their 4th win of the season. We'll have another look at this. The Ocean Soul is secured. Encore goes on to Dan. It's pretty difficult for him to ever get into that fight.
Yeah, and again, like with Misfits having so many range threats, when they have an advantage and XL trying to run away, like, hey, you just can't really deal damage to these guys. Misfits just keeping XL far, far away. They're necked in the Mundo, not having a lot of value in these fights, and that was sort of the question coming out of the first phase of draft, was these champions maybe not like identifying with a lot of what XL was trying to do, and now you can see from a deficit really nothing they can do.
And I see Torre just getting chunked out here. Kobbe's going to have to flash away. Ruthless Predator's coming in as well. Vetheo, perfect position for the shockwave, but he decides not to use it. There he goes in second. True Shot Barrage teams up with it. It's a double for Kobbe. And this is the Misfits I think we were expecting to see at the start of the season. Kobbe popping off. Razork on the front line as well. Misfits having a very good showing here against XL. Those Mystic shots absolutely chunking away at Patrik as well.
Kobbe's feeling good, and same time Misfits are pushing in mid. The wave has crashed into the top lane too. The siege is deadly with 4 ranged champions from Misfits. They are taking everything out of the XL base.
Just basically nothing XL can do. What can Patrik do? Razork just jumps into his face and half HP from a single shotgun wound. It's almost like a real life as Razork continues to chase in here. The second inhibitor will go down. And even with the Encore going a little bit wide, it looks like Misfits are just going to back away. You can see, like, there's nothing. What can XL do? They just can't do anything in this situation.
It's rough. Razork's definitely picked up the Bucky meta over from looking good.
He's a judge gamer.
XL on a bit of an eco round, if I do say so myself. It's rough here.
Yeah, I mean, it's 11-1. It's a 9,000, almost 10,000 gold lead for Misfits. They still have Baron for a minute if they want it, but really all they have to do is walk in bot lane. The wave clear isn't amazing for XL. You've got the Death Ray coming out from Victor. You've got some Piercing Darkness coming out from Patrik as well, but it's...
yeah, look, you can't just use the real name of the ability and make it sound more menacing than it actually is with like 1.5 items.
I mean, I'm not saying it's good. Yeah. I said it's not good.
It's misleading, medic. Oh no.
Oh no! Indeed, oh no! As Patrik is sniped with the True Shot Barrage, Ezreal says thank you very much for the kill. Razork did most of the work. Look at the healing he's getting out of it as well.
I mean, Razork's done most of the work this game, let's be honest. Again, going back to start playing off Vetheo around mid, completely dismantling Czekolad from early ganks. It has been a bit of jungle domination here for Misfits, and game domination in all senses of the word. 11k gold lead, 3 inhibitors, 12 kills to 1, an Ocean Soul, and a Baron for at least 2 more seconds. Misfits, this is all she wrote.
Super minions pushing in the top lane as Razork pushes down Dan's life. Torre next on the menu as Razork uses the Collider of damage to keep himself alive. There's a fight going on. Vander pops the Encore. Just about gets taken out. Shockwave flashed away there by Czekolad, but Kobbe is still very healthy on the backline as they look for Patrik on the fountain. Triple for Vetheo. The Nexus towers will be taken out by Razork all on his lonesome. So the rest of Misfits are looking to pad their KDAs just a tad. Second Nexus tower goes down, and Misfits look for that final kill.
Okay, they're setting up the dive here. Kobbe changes his mind. Hit the Nexus, guys. Well played. Vetheo gets the last hit, and Misfits shut down XL, keeping their playoffs hopes alive. And it was Razork looking like an absolute beast on that Graves for minute 1.
Razork really bodied it, and you could see, like, I like the job from Misfits. They did exactly what they wanted to do. XL couldn't really ever get to a position where they were close enough, even though they were scaling up. They couldn't scale far enough, and that's why in Ready Check I said I was worried about XL, because they played this singular style, teams found them out, they went to something new, didn't work, they've now gone back to that style, and it's not working.
Yeah, that is now 4 losses in a row for XL, the last 2 being Astralis and Misfits, 2 teams beneath them in the standings. This then, with a Schalke win later today, would put them outside of the top 6, so XL must buckle down and get back into shape because we are running out of time left in the season.
We really are, and you guys are running out of time to vote for your Kia player of the game at LEC on Twitter. Thank you very much. Razork, Vetheo, and Kobbe are your options. I think we both know who we would vote for, but you guys have free will. You can choose whoever you want. And
whoever I want? Odoamne, perhaps?
Our next game puts the reigning champions up versus the last place team as G2 Esports look to continue their win streak against Vitality.
You lied to me, Medic. You said anyone.
You can vote for him. He's just not going to win.
On Twitter right now.
Do it.
I don't really consider it gear. It's an extension of who I am. It blurs the line between fantasy and reality. Sometimes, I can't tell myself from my machine. I think that's by design.
Welcome back to the LEC. Vander, congratulations on claiming that much-needed victory with a very solid and convincing performance. In your opinion, how important was today's XL victory for Misfits as we close into the last third of the split?
Well, last weeks were not too good for us, so it's good to win finally, and it's also, I guess, it keeps the playoffs hope alive for now. So that's a really significant win, you can say.
Yeah, it wasn't just a victory, but a very convincing performance after all. And I think Misfits managed to gain a big lead by the team fight at the bot lane, which did award Misfits with their 4 kills. But what I was really impressed was how you managed to snowball it in a way that XL could never catch up. Can you tell me about the solidity and the macro of Misfits that made sure that they were always ahead in gold lead, always ahead in objectives?
Yeah, as you mentioned, the Drake fight was really key for the game and crucial. We just got 4 kills for 0 and first tower on bot lane. And with those peaks that both teams had, this kind of seals the game for me. If we don't make a huge blunder, we can't really lose the game anymore. So we just could play for soul, and yeah, that's what we did, and we didn't really take many risks. And aside from Gragas dying bot lane, I think we just tried to play it like safe and get the easy win.
And I also want to comment on the performance of Vetheo and Razork because they were working together as a mid-jungle bot duo, disrupting the game and continuing the small ball. What can you tell me about the performance of those players today?
Yeah, so in practice we try to make our mid-jungle work a lot more, and it's not always going this way, I'll tell you that. So I'm glad they finally worked together well, and they were controlling the game. And they were like coming to bot, we could hit the plates, and they also were catching Victor, and yeah, they did a really great job together. So I hope it will not be a one-time thing.
Oh no, because today the casters were commenting, and I say this in a very positive way, that this is the Misfits that we expected to see at the beginning of the split. And perhaps in the beginning, like in the middle of the split, the criticism on Misfits, perhaps that the team is still finding its playstyle and team synergy, which we definitely showed signs of in today's game. So what can you tell me about Misfits' progress on finding its identity? And in your visualization, how will the final form of Misfits look like?
Yeah, so I think one of the main problems of our team this split was that we didn't really commit for any playstyle, and we're just not good enough to play like a freestyle game that we just pick what's the strongest in the moment, and then we will know how to play it from minute 1 to minute 30 or like 40. So I think we just took a little bit of easier approach lately, and we tried to, as you said, find our identity. And even though maybe it will be a bit more straightforward, I guess it will be easier for now to execute, and this will be our foundation of the team, right?
And for my final question, I would love to ask the role that you play into those conversations as the veteran of the team. What kind of advices or conversations or help are you giving to the relatively younger players on the team in order for Misfits to realize this visualization?
Well, there's not anything secret words or advice that I can give them. I can just like kind of share my experience and what I think is correct to do in the game and how to play it. So it's basically just a lot of day-by-day conversations and how we do in practice and what we get from the games. And yeah, that's how I help them.
Okay, thank you so much for the time and the insights. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you as well.
Thank you. And we'll be back with Vitality versus G2 after a commercial break. Thank you.